Yishem Adonai Baruch Ma'atav Adolam. Hashem's name will be blessed. The connection is not so great today, so I apologize in advance. The internet connection. So what kind of bad in regards to utensils, washing utensils and all that? So let's raise a few questions. If you can wash the dishes, why not to wash them on Shabbat? What if I found out on Shabbat that the utensil I'm about to use was not merged, not dipped in the milk, but I got to use this utensil to use the dishes again on Shabbat for another meal. We'll see in Halacha 18 more about that. For the rule, if one has another set clean dishes, if one no longer needs any dishes for Shabbat, since one has already eaten the third Shabbat meal, one may not wash the dishes. What's the reason behind it? Yes?
Can you rinse, stuff, ketchup and remnants, not wash them first with soap, but rinse them all up and put them up, I went over people's homes where instead of putting them on the counter, you put them in the sink and it's already filled with water and soapy water.
That's what he's talking about.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'akol nihya b'dvaro.
You won't stop.
It's one halachot about dipping it in a sink full of water. We'll see it later. The question, can I wash the ketchup and put the plate in the dishwasher? The dishwasher is not on, but I'm preparing it for Motzei Shabbos, for Saturday night. Or there's a timer that will activate it, let's say, in 2 hours on Shabbat.
Or can you rinse it and put it on the counter and wait to be washing it later? After Shabbat?
We'll see all that.
Okay.
Be patient. Okay, it is permissible to wash drinking glasses throughout the day of Shabbat, even if one needs only one glass at the moment, since people drink throughout the day. If one is sure that no one in the house will drink anymore on Shabbat, one should not wash any more glasses. People has the special Kiddush cup. It's not the cup like this. What is this made of? Has the silver one. And they're afraid that if they won't wash it, it will get dark, it will get this... tarnished, thinking. And they have even a special cloth to clean it after Shabbat, to keep it shiny, okay? So they want to wash it and dry it right away after Kiddush. And place it in the... wherever they put it in some sort of exhibition closet, whatever. Okay? Near the Chinese...
Chinese food.
So, they want to know if they can do that on Shabbat. By the way, today there is a trick. There is not today, the last few years, there's a new method out there to save and preserve these silver cups or silver utensils, a real silver, from the need of cleaning them and dry them in special material. What you do, they're coating it with some sort of material that is clear, and you see it maybe a little bit shinier, but you don't have to worry anymore about cleaning this silver. There's companies in Israel, one of them called Hatzorofim, I remember, that you bring your utensils to them and the cups, they will give you treat it with some special coating. I think also you can buy this spray, okay, and you can maybe do it yourself. I'm not sure, but that can save a lot of troubles. I'm telling you, people on Shabbat, they don't like even to use it. They leave it there for what do you call it, exhibition? Outside, in the living room. They don't ever want to touch it because they know it's a shlab and they have to come take it out and then dry it and do it well. So they just leave it there. They never use it. It's chaval. It's a shame. It's such a wonderful thing to use for Shabbat, for the honor of the Shabbat. So there's ways to protect it. So, after reciting Kiddush in the morning of Shabbat, it is permissible to rinse the goblet used for the kiddush, even though they said in the morning. Why? Because in the evening, there's no problem. You're going to use it in the morning. And the morning is the last kiddush that we do that day, right? So, again, after reciting kiddush in the morning on Shabbat, it is permissible to rinse the goblet used for the kiddush, even though one does not need it anymore on Shabbat, since it is a utensil used for drinking. We do not limit how much one might drink. Besides this, one may wish to rinse his silver goblet right away to prevent it from tarnishing. It is certainly permitted if one wishes to display it in his living room cabinet, for that in itself is an aspect of honoring Shabbat. Okay, so we see here the reasons that we can wash. Using soap on Shabbat, can you use the liquidish soap? Can you use
Hard soap.
There is a soap, cleaning dishes soap. It's more common in Israel. It's like a paste. It's hard. You know, it has the form like tar. You know what I mean? You can use it on Shabbat. So there's a difference between Ashkenazi and Sephardi. Sephardi, yes, Ashkenazi, no. We'll see it later. Some posts can rule that it is forbidden to shine silver items with liquid polish, and though the halacha technically it is permitted, it is not an appropriate activity for Shabbat. You know this spray, the Windex, for example? Right. So, people, Windex and the like, okay? People want to use it on Shabbat to shine windows. Okay? Why? Many people like to use newspaper. You know why? You didn't notice it's like old school, huh?
It doesn't smear. Is that
Yeah, and it doesn't leave residues. But it's a cheap material. After you finish it, if you just get rid of it. Anyways, can I do these kind of actions on Shabbat? Clearing the windows, spraying on the table, on the floor. I love these sprays. I'm telling you, my house is full of it.
Beautiful.
Upside, down, up, in the restroom, everywhere there's spray.
It's all purpose.
All
The
purpose.
difference between doing a window and say you have a countertop and you know you need to use the countertop later that day and you want to clean it so you can use it, that's a difference versus a window, which you maybe have fingerprints on it or be dirty, but it's not needed.
What's
for
the
shopping.
okay? So you distinguish between the two issues. One, there is marks of fingers on the windows. Maybe it's not so urgent. The table is dirty. I have to clean it. Okay, let's see. The Halacha says the following. It is permissible to wash the windows using a small amount of spray and scrubbing them with newspaper. One must take care not to tear the newspaper while doing this. You don't have to use newspaper, okay? You can use carefully a thick cloth. Okay, so you avoid squeezing and all that. It's just very small amount anyways. There are poskim who rule that this is forbidden if it is not needed for Shabbat itself. Technically, however, it is not forbidden unless it is obvious that it is being done for the sake of the weekday's activity. Meaning now he's taking a ladder and cleaning up the entire windows of the house. If it's bothering you, it's not for the sake of, if it's for the sake of the honor of Shabbat, you may do that. Okay, what about glasses, our own glasses? One may clean eye on Shabbat. It would be an act of piety to refrain from scrubbing them hard. So you need to show that it's different today, it's Shabbat. You can clean them, but don't do it like you do on the weekdays. But to only wipe them clean. Okay. If there is a large number of dirty dishes, and it is likely that they will cast an odor in one's house, or if they fill up the kitchen and make it difficult to function there, okay, it is permitted to wash them on Shabbat In this instance, washing the dishes is not an act of preparing on Shabbat or the weekday, since one needs them clean during Shabbat itself, for the reason we just mentioned. Either bad odor, and you don't want roaches now have a reason to come to your kitchen. You need the sink cleared. So these reasons are good enough to wash them right now. Nonetheless, you're not going to use them anymore. All right? Can I use the hot water on the faucet on Shabbat? What about Yom Tov?
Yes.
Okay, so for Sephardim, Chacham Ovadia Paskin, that it's permitted you on Yom Tov to take a shower on Shabbat if you have the water heater tank, and the condition that the water was hot before Shabbat, which is normally that's the case, correct? The water heater at your house is hot already before Shabbat, right? Mm-hmm. It has to be. It has to be.
It's sitting there unused, it's not generating or something.
It's a pilot light that keeps the thing warm all the time.
So whenever you open it will be hot, it'll be ready. So there's something called בגלל שהותר לצורך אוכל נפש, הותר שלא לצורך אוכל נפש. Meaning, for אוכל נפש, for the reason of cooking and eating and have joy on Shabbat, on Yom Tov, we can cook. We can transfer from an existing fire to another fire and cook on Shabbat. On Yom Tov. On Yom Tov. Now, since that is permitted, we can take advantage and take a shower also. Okay, on Yom Tov. That's number one. Now, in regards to Shabbat, it's prohibited. Because what's happening is, if this is the container and hot water coming out of here, okay, this one control has nothing to do with the cold water in the house, the hot water. So when I open the faucet, any faucet in the house, the hot water coming out of here, it starts to get empty. There's another faucet here that makes sure, keep the balance. So cold water will come and mix with the hot water, meaning the cold water from outside will be cooked, in our language, okay? So what do? When you open the faucet on Shabbat, we're actually cooking. We're not even aware of that. We're cooking on Shabbat. So we have to be careful not to open this. If your house has this type of water heater, okay? In Israel, they have different methods. They have that. They have, I know my parents have the one that is tankless. Yeah. It's also, you can't use it on Shabbat, but yes, on Yom Tov. And there is one that is electric, like, I don't know if you guys have it in Texas here, the electrical one, okay? And the one that we have in Israel is the one with, what do you call this? The sun, solar. Based solar panel. So Chacham Ovadia paskin that it's permitted to be used even on Shabbat, but low temperature, because what the Torah prohibited is something that is involved with fire. But here the heat comes from the sun. So the sun is a different story. The Torah didn't prohibit something like that. And we can add prohibition more over than the Torah already prohibited us. It's for a long discussion, so I'm giving you the idea here. So going back to what we said, we have, the vast majority of people here have the water tank, right? Yeah. Opening it on Shabbat will cause cold water to mix with the hot water, and we actually boiling, cooking water on Shabbat. It's not permitted. Let's say we have a non-Jew in the house, a non-Jew maid, okay, and she comes to clean the dishes. Should I instruct her to open the hot water and tell her on Shabbat? Or she can use that whatever she wants, huh?
She's doing it for her benefit.
For her benefit. If a non-Jewish janitor or maid washes the dishes on Shabbat and chooses to use hot water that is heated by a boiler. Okay, next. If one knows that another meal will be eaten after the third Shabbat meal, one may wash the dishes that will be needed for the fourth meal. Okay? If one has another set of dishes to use for the next Shabbat meal, it is best to refrain from washing the set that was used for the first meal. With the fourth meal, you know what I'm talking about? You got the idea? Some people... Shabbat, eating fourth meal on Shabbat, not after Shabbat. Some people...
These guys do, but most people don't.
Right, but some people eat early third meal. It'd be around 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. They eat breakfast. Okay? Early breakfast. And for whatever reason, the day is long, they can't wait till 8 o'clock, so by 5 or 6, they're eating another meal. So unless it's already the fourth meal, but you want to eat on Shabbat, you eat it. Obviously, it's not permitted to prepare for the fourth meal that will be after Shabbat. After Shabbat, wash after Shabbat. Okay? By the way, it doesn't have to be meal. Okay, definition meal doesn't have to be with bread. You could have guests coming. You have to use these utensils for, appetizers or whatever. Whatever reason you want to use on Shabbat. Okay. Next. It is permissible to use dishwashing liquid on Shabbat or to mix powdered soap with water for this purpose. This does not pose a halachic problem of performing an act of the melacha of lisha. Lisha is kneading, nor is making the bubbles an act of molid, creating something new. Okay, so I don't think he brings here for Ashkenazim, but I tell you right now that Ashkenazim, they're not permitting any hard soap to be used on Shabbat, or something like paste, material. Just has to be very liquidish, so you'll be able to use it on Shabbat. It is permissible to use scrubber made of plastic fibers to wash the dishes if the scrubber is a type that does not absorb any water. There's one that they're selling today. You're familiar with that, the green, the red, the different colors, the blue. It's kosher for Shabbat. There's no problem. Before this invention, what we use is just sometimes plastic bags. And you scramble them all together like a ball, and you can use that. Okay. However, any water, although it is hold the soapy water between its fibers, it is forbidden to use a sponge. However, since by using it, one would certainly squeeze water from it. It is likewise forbidden to use Scotch-Brite scrubber pad, since it does absorb water, and using it involves squeezing the water from it. What about using gloves on Shabbat? Washing dishes with gloves. Why would that even raise a question? Problem with that is when you, let's say, touch a ketchup, it dyes the gloves. And now, when you wash it, it's like you are laundering. That's the concern. The robber's gloves while washing the dishes. To protect her hands, she may do so. She may also scrub the dishes while wearing them, although she, at the same time, is scrubbing her gloves clean. This is because it is permitted, according to the Torah, to launder rubber. And although it is forbidden by our sages, her intention now is only to wash the dishes, not the gloves. Therefore, it is a case of a psik reshe de lo nichale b'derabanan, and it is permitted. You familiar with this term? De lo nichale Meaning, yes, I'm washing it, it's like laundering, but that's not my intention. My intention is the dishes. If this thing happens by the way, I don't care about that. This is called Nichadim D'Rabbanan. Make sense? Okay. Now I want to put the dishes, wash them lightly from mustard, ketchup, or any type of food, and place them in the dishwasher. Can I do that on Shabbat? The dishwasher is not on.
So you're just using it
Well,
like a
can't-
rack.
Oh, it is.
Just put it on the rack.
Okay, so after Shabbat meal, it is permissible to hide the dirty dishes by inserting them into the electric dishwasher that is not running. Okay, if one has such practice on the weekdays as well, otherwise it appears as if he is merely trying to prepare for washing them after Shabbat is over, and is an act of preparing on Shabbat for the weekdays. Even when it is permitted, one must place the dishes in a haphazard fashion in the machine, and not to arrange them as one would to have them. What is it? Skip a line. I'm sorry. Okay, to arrange them as one would to have them washed by the machine. After, let's put it in balagan, right? After the third meal, one may place the dishes in the sink if it is disturbing to leave them on the table. Or if one needs this space, if leaving the dishes on the table would not disturb anyone, it's forbidden to move them, since that will be an act of preparing on Shabbat for the weekdays. Make sense so far? All is good? Next. Let's talk a little bit about, and we conclude with that for today. Let's talk about immersion in the mikveh utensils on Shabbat. If one purchase new kitchen utensils from a non-Jew and fail to immerse them in the mikveh before Shabbat, so we know the halacha that if it was manufactured by Israel, by a Jew, it was made, any utensil made by a Jew, doesn't need to dip it, immerse it in a mikveh. So far so good, we know that? The Torah taught us that if we buy from a non-Jew a utensil, we must immerse it into a mikveh. According to the Kabbalah, it's different worlds, different elements, different powers. And I'm trying to say it in a way that no one will get offended. Okay? So there's some sort of lights, different lights and power around dishes that you got from a Jew or those you got from a non-Jew. Right? And every element, like a spiritual element, these lights cannot be mixed with water. Okay? It stops to exist when it is dipped in the water. It can, it's something spiritual, it's ruach, and ruach cannot go inside the water. So the water is actually koshering this item. This happens to us as well. When we go to a mikveh, or when we go to a mikveh, okay? It's kind of like the same idea. There's different aura, light around it. When she go to the mikveh, so the light, let's say the negative one, it's still there. Okay? And let's say, still there here. If she dip herself in the mikveh and there is a finger out, it's not kosher. Why? Because the light is still attached. When she comes out, it's going to spread all over. I'm trying to simplify that. You get everything. Even if a hair will be outside, it still has the power to see, to dwell on that person. So the halacha says, as everybody knows, when you dip yourself in the mikveh, you have to dip your full body. Okay? Hair, long hair, and everything. Make sure that. And this is how you purify yourself. Same with the dishes. It has to be all the way immersed into the mikveh, and the water has the power to clear from these negative lights. Okay, it's negative for us. There's a sector of people that comes from a different side. Doesn't mean that they are bad people. Just we can mix the two. Okay, no offense. So the halacha says that about a person that wants to dip the dishes on Shabbat because you have gas or you have a meal and you will have to use these dishes. What is he going to do? So the halacha says this. Okay, if one purchased new kitchen utensils from a non-Jew and failed to immerse them in a mikveh before Shabbat, or the poskim agreed that it is permissible to give the utensil to a non-Jew as a gift and then borrow them from him for an indefinite time. Did you get the trick? The system is the following. Let me explain to you. You can kosherize, you can use a utensil under two conditions. One, you dip it in the mikveh, or you give it as a gift to a non-Jew, and you can use it. Yours, it's not yours, it's his. So it doesn't belong to you. It doesn't come to your own reshut, your own domain. When it's in my domain, my achrayus, my reshut, I have to immerse it. So the trick is to get, in America it's easy. You have neighbors, you have friends, a convert that can help out. It's a mitzvah for them to help a Jew. You give it to them as a gift, and we did it many times when we need to use utensils that we cannot dip in the mikveh completely because we were concerned that the electrical component would be ruined. So we give it to a non-Jew, and he gave it back to the shul, and then we can use it on. Otherwise, you have to go to a special. It's a balagan. So how long I can use it? As long as it belongs to him, to the non-Jew. So I don't have to worry about it forever. In the Corona time, we did it many times. We didn't really walk, didn't go outside, didn't go to use the dishes. So we used to do that a lot, even over the phone. I ask a Dayan if I can give a gift to a non-Jew over the phone. It's Corona time. They don't hang around. We have to use it. So he says yes. Okay, you can give him a gift over the phone. Anyways, the best method is to dip it in the mikveh. If you can't, for whatever reason, give it to a Jew, a non-Jew, and then after Shabbat, if you want to acquire that again.
You're saying the best is to dip, but not dip it in the mikveh on Shabbos itself.
No, you can't do that.
Before Shabbos.
Before Shabbos, right?
No, before Shabbat, it's best to the
No,
mikveh.
you can't dip it on Shabbos.
Not on
Not then do like
On Shabbat, it's a difference between Sfardim and Ashkenazim. We can go ahead and dip it in the mikveh on Shabbat.
Sfardim.
Let me just finish this halacha. So the best method is them. All the poskim agreed that it is permissible to give the utensils to a non-Jew as a gift and then borrow them from him for an indefinite time. This does not infringe on the prohibition against giving gifts on Shabbat. It says this being done for the sake of Shabbat itself. If it is not possible to use this solution, Sephardic Jews may immerse the new utensils in a mikveh, whether they are made of glass or metal. Before immersing them, one must recite the blessing al tvilas kelim, the same as one would do on the weekdays. Ashkenazic Jews may not immerse new kitchen utensils in a mikveh on Shabbat if the utensil involved is one that could be used to draw water. However, an Ashkenazic Jew could use it to draw water from the mikveh and at the same time immerse the utensil. That's another way to trick the system, to override it. What do you do when you go to the mikveh? You find there usually a basket, and use this basket and immerse the kelim, right? The utensil.
Right.
Here you can use this new utensil as a basket. So I'm using it for other stuff, whatever, to draw water. Where did you draw the water? In the mikveh. Oh, so you dipped it in the mikveh already. It's kosher.
But you don't say a bracha.
No. In this manner, one hides the fact that one is immersing it. Okay. Actually, he can't say. He should say the bracha. The Halacha said that he says the bracha, but silently. Okay, he should say the bracha.
Silently, mean in your mind or actually?
No, you have to say it quietly versus saying Baruch Ata. Just whisper the bracha. We have 3 more halachot and we're done for today.
Can I just mention one thing about the mikvah? Because I've always heard that if you have a utensil that you haven't used and it hasn't been in the mikvah, you can use it one time without, then you have to take it.
Right, some permit that. We'll get there, Bezat Hashem, in that day that we'll study the halachot of Tvilas Kelim. It's very interesting halachot that you would not even think of. For example, what you mentioned. Or if I buy disposable utensil made out of metal, but I choose to use it again, do I need to dip it? What about it was meant for one time, right? For example, I don't know, olive jar, right? Or the baby, what do you call the baby food, small one?
Baby
Yeah.
jars.
What do you call this? For the baby, the grounded thingy.
Yeah, it's a baby jar.
Long time ago. So, you want to use it more than once. So there's a question. Some poskim says you have to dip it in the mikveh because it was meant to be used one time. Now you want to use it many times. You got to. What about the tray, the aluminum tray that we're using,
Yes.
and so forth? So this kind of question we have to know. Okay, next. If one is unsure whether or not the new utensil has already been immersed, and one cannot employ the solution as suggested above, give it to the non-Jew, it is permissible to immerse it in a mikveh, even for Ashkenazic Jews. Okay, because it's not certain, it's questionable. Also, if an Ashkenazic Jew immersed the new utensil on Shabbat, even though he knew it is forbidden for him to do so, he may nevertheless use the utensil afterwards on that very Shabbat. Can I sharpen my knives on Shabbat? It's for the sake of Shabbat. I got to cut the challah. It is forbidden to sharpen a knife on Shabbat, whether with a millstone or simply to stroke the knife across a block of wood or a stone, since this is similar to an act of the melacha of memachek, erasing, smoothing a rough surface. It is forbidden as well to scrub rust from knife surface. Less halacha for today. What about a glass of wine? I'm going to skip this one. I'm going to tell you this halacha after I'm off the grid. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Just stay tuned.